The hospital room felt eerily quiet, the soft beeps of the monitors punctuating the silence like a ticking clock. I cradled my newborn twins, their tiny faces scrunched in peaceful sleep, oblivious to the turmoil that was about to unfold. A gentle knock at the door startled me, and a nurse entered, a somber expression etched on her face. "Mrs. Archer, this letter arrived for you," she said, her voice laced with poorly concealed pity. I took the envelope, my hands trembling slightly. As soon as the nurse left, I tore it open, my heart pounding in my chest. The words seemed to blur before my eyes, but one phrase stood out in stark relief. "I want a divorce." My world shattered in that moment. Calvin, the man I had loved and trusted, the one I thought would stand by my side through thick and thin, had betrayed me in the cruelest way imaginable. The letter went on to reveal his affair, his decision to abandon me and our children for another woman. Tears streamed down my cheeks, and I clutched my babies closer, as if they were the only anchors keeping me from drifting away into a sea of despair. How could he do this to us? After years of struggling with infertility, these precious little ones were supposed to be the culmination of our dreams, the embodiment of our love. But Calvin's absence spoke volumes. He didn't even bother to show up for their birth, too consumed by his selfish desires to witness the miracle we had fought so hard to achieve. The man I thought I knew had become a stranger, and the life I had envisioned for us was nothing but a cruel illusion. In that moment, I made a silent vow to my children. I would be the strength they needed. I would protect them from the pain and betrayal that their father had inflicted upon us. And I would rise above this, not as a victim, but as a survivor, forging a new path for myself and my family. It was a long, sleepless night, punctuated by the soft cries of my babies and the shattering of my own heart. But as the first rays of dawn filtered through the window, I knew that this was not the end, but the beginning of a new chapter, one where I would write my own story, free from the shackles of a broken marriage and a broken man. I clutched the divorce papers like a lifeline, my knuckles turning white with the sheer force of my grip. Calvin's words cut deeper than any knife, his cruelty slicing through the very core of my being. "You're delusional if you think you can handle raising those brats on your own," he sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. "You'll fail as a mother, just like you failed as a wife." My brother Evan, who had taken me in after I left the hospital, placed a comforting hand on my shoulder. "Don't listen to him, sis. He's just trying to hurt you." Calvin scoffed, his lips twisted into a sneer. "Hurt her? I'm just telling the truth. She's nothing but a burden, and those kids are better off without her." I flinched, his words like physical blows, but Evan's presence gave me strength. "Get out of my house," he growled, his usually gentle demeanor replaced by a protective fury. Calvin shrugged, his cold eyes meeting mine for a brief moment before turning on his heel and leaving. The silence that followed was deafening, punctuated only by the soft whimpers of my newborn twins in the nursery. Evan enveloped me in a warm embrace, and I clung to him, my body shaking with the force of my sobs. How could he be so cruel? I choked out, my voice muffled by his shoulder. "He's a coward," Evan said, his voice laced with disgust. "But you're stronger than him, Miranda. You've always been the stronger one." His words resonated deep within me, igniting a spark of determination that had been flickering beneath the pain and betrayal. I pulled back, wiping the tears from my eyes, and nodded. "You're right," I said, my voice steadier than I had expected. "I can't let him break me, not when I have these two precious lives depending on me." Evan smiled, his eyes shining with pride. "That's my sister. Now let's focus on getting you and the twins settled. You're safe here, and we'll figure out the next steps together." As I held my babies close, their soft breaths brushing against my skin, I knew that Evan was right. Calvin might have shattered our family, but he couldn't destroy the unbreakable bond between a mother and her children. I would rise above his cruelty, his insults, and his attempts to diminish me. This was just the beginning of a new chapter, one where I would write my own story of resilience and triumph. The soft coos of my twins filled the air as I rocked them gently, their tiny fingers curled around mine. It had been a few months since I had taken refuge at Evan's place, and the wounds of Calvin's betrayal were slowly starting to heal. A knock at the door interrupted my reverie, and Evan poked his head in. "Hey, you've got a visitor. It's Derek. My heart skipped a beat at the mention of my old college friend. Derek had been a constant source of support during those tumultuous times, his unwavering friendship a lifeline in the midst of the storm. "Send him in," I called out, unable to suppress the smile that crept across my face. Derek stepped into the nursery, his warm grin instantly brightening the room. "There's my favorite little family," he said, his eyes twinkling with affection. "Derek, it's so good to see you," I said, rising to embrace him with one arm, the other cradling my precious bundle. He returned the hug with gentle care, mindful of the fragile lives nestled against me. "You're looking well," he murmured, pulling back to study my face. "Motherhood suits you." I felt a flush of pride at his words, a stark contrast to the constant barrage of insults and put-downs from Calvin. Derek had a way of making me feel valued, seen, and understood in a way that my ex-husband never could. "Thanks for being here," I said softly, my voice thick with emotion. "I don't know what I would have done without you and Evan." Derek waved a dismissive hand. "Don't mention it. That's what friends are for." His expression grew serious, and he lowered his voice. "Have you given any thought to the legal proceedings?" I nodded, my grip on my children tightening instinctively. "I want to fight for full custody. Calvin doesn't deserve to be a part of their lives, not after the way he treated us." Derek's jaw clenched, his eyes hardening. "That bastard doesn't deserve anything," he spat, his usual composure slipping for a moment. "But don't worry, Miranda, I'll make sure he pays for what he's done." A surge of gratitude washed over me, and I reached out to squeeze his hand. "Thank you, Derek, for everything." His features softened, and he returned the gentle pressure. "You don't have to thank me. Just focus on being the amazing mother I know you are, and leave the rest to me." As Derek left, I couldn't help but feel a sense of renewed strength and determination. With him by my side, I knew that I had a fighting chance at building the life my children deserved, a life free from the toxicity and pain that Calvin had brought into our world. The road ahead might be long and arduous, but for the first time in a long while, I felt hope blossoming in my heart. Calvin might have shattered my dreams, but with the unwavering support of those who truly cared for me, I knew that I could pick up the pieces and create something even more beautiful, a future where my twins could thrive, loved and protected, untainted by their father's cruelty. The soft glow of the laptop screen cast a warm hue across Derek's face as he leaned back in his chair, brow furrowed in concentration. I watched him intently, my heart thrumming with a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. "Are you sure about this, Miranda?" he asked, his voice low and serious. "Once we set this in motion, there's no turning back." I nodded, my resolve unwavering. He brought this on himself. It's time he faced the consequences of his actions. Derek let out a long exhale, running a hand through his hair. "All right, I've gathered enough evidence to bury him, but we need to be smart about how we play this." Leaning forward, he began to outline his plan, his words precise and calculated. "We'll start by issuing a formal demand for a fair settlement, custody, child support, and a substantial alimony. If he refuses, we'll have no choice but to go public with the information we have on his shady business dealings." My stomach twisted at the mention of Calvin's professional misdeeds. The man I had once loved and trusted had been living a double life, engaging in fraud and deceit that threatened to unravel his entire career. "Do you really think he'll cave?" I asked, my voice laced with doubt. Calvin's always been so arrogant, so sure of himself. Derek's eyes hardened, his jaw set in a firm line. "He'll have no choice. Not when the evidence is this damning. We've got him cornered, Miranda. It's time to make him pay for what he's done." A surge of determination coursed through me, fueled by the memory of Calvin's cruelty and the pain he had inflicted upon me and my children. I had spent too long cowering in his shadow, allowing his manipulation and abuse to dictate the course of my life. No more. "Let's do it," I said, my voice steady and resolute. "I'm ready to take back control." Derek's lips curved into a grim smile, and he nodded. "Then let's make that bastard squirm." Over the next few weeks, we meticulously prepared our case, gathering every shred of evidence and fortifying our legal strategy. Derek was a force to be reckoned with, his razor-sharp intellect and unwavering determination a formidable combination. As the day of the mediation approached, I could feel the tension building, like a coiled spring waiting to be released. Calvin had no idea what was coming, and I couldn't help but savor the thought of wiping that smug grin off his face. When the moment finally arrived, I steeled myself, drawing strength from the knowledge that I was no longer fighting alone. Derek was by my side, a steadfast ally in the battle against my former tormentor. As Calvin strutted into the room, his arrogance practically radiating from his pores, I felt a surge of power course through my veins. This was it, the moment I had been waiting for. The game was on, and this time I held all the cards. The tension in the room was palpable as Calvin swaggered in, his cocky demeanor a stark contrast to the grim expressions on our faces. Derek took the lead, his voice calm and measured as he laid out the terms of our proposal. "We're prepared to offer a fair settlement," he said, sliding a stack of papers across the table. "Full custody of the children for Miranda, along with child support and substantial alimony payments." Calvin's eyes narrowed, his lip curling in disdain. "Are you kidding me? You expect me to agree to those outrageous demands?" I could feel my blood boiling, but before I could speak, Derek raised a hand, silencing me. "It's a generous offer, given the circumstances," he said, his voice taking on a razor-sharp edge. Calvin scoffed, leaning back in his chair with a smug grin. "And what circumstances would those be? You have no leverage here." Derek's expression hardened, and he reached into his briefcase, retrieving a thick file. "I wouldn't be so sure about that." With a flick of his wrist, he scattered the contents of the file across the table, revealing a damning trail of evidence, financial records, email correspondence, and detailed accounts of Calvin's fraudulent activities within his company. The color drained from Calvin's face as he rifled through the documents, his bravado evaporating like mist in the morning sun. Where did you get this?" "That's not important," Derek said, his voice laced with steel. "What matters is that we have more than enough evidence to bury you, professionally and personally." Calvin's eyes darted between us, his mask of arrogance crumbling as the realization of his predicament sank in. "What do you want?" he growled, his hands clenched into tight fists. "Exactly what we asked for," I spoke up, my voice steady and unwavering. "The settlement, no contest on custody, and your silence. Agree to our terms, and this information stays buried." Calvin's jaw tightened, his eyes burning with barely contained rage. For a long moment, the room was deathly silent, the weight of our ultimatum hanging heavy in the air. Finally, he let out a sharp exhale, his shoulders slumping in defeat. "Fine, you win." A surge of triumph coursed through me, but I refused to let it show on my face. Calvin had brought this upon himself, and for the first time, he was the one left powerless, stripped of his arrogance and control. As he scrawled his signature on the settlement papers, his hand trembling with barely contained fury, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The nightmare was finally over, and I had emerged victorious, not just for myself, but for my children. Derek and I exchanged a glance, a silent acknowledgement of our shared triumph passing between us. We had played the game, and we had won, leaving Calvin to face the consequences of his own actions. As we gathered our belongings and prepared to leave, Calvin fixed me with a venomous glare. "This isn't over," he hissed, his voice dripping with venom. I met his gaze unflinchingly, a newfound strength burning within me. "Yes, it is," I said, my voice unwavering. "You lost the moment you decided to betray us." With those words, I turned and walked away, leaving Calvin to stew in the wreckage of his own making. The battle had been hard fought, but in the end, justice had prevailed, and I had reclaimed the power he had tried so desperately to strip away. The future was uncertain, but for once, I didn't fear it. With my children by my side and the unwavering support of those who truly cared for me, I knew that I could weather any storm that came my way. Calvin had made the mistake of underestimating me, and now he would pay the price. The sound of shattering glass echoed through the silent kitchen as Calvin hurled his tumbler against the wall, the amber liquid splattering across the pristine tiles. His face was contorted with rage, his knuckles white from the force of his clenched fists. "That bitch," he snarled, pacing like a caged animal. "How dare she try to ruin me?" His mistress, Samantha, watched him with a mixture of fear and disgust, her arms crossed defensively over her chest. "Maybe you should have thought about before you decided to screw her over," she spat, her voice dripping with contempt. Calvin whirled on her, his eyes wild with fury. "Shut your mouth," he growled, taking a menacing step forward. "This is all her fault. She's the one who pushed me into this." Samantha recoiled, her lips pressed into a thin line. "Don't you dare try to blame her for your own mistakes," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "You made your bed, Calvin. Now you have to lie in it." Calvin's laughter was bitter and mirthless. "Oh, I'll make her pay all right. She thinks she's won, but I'm just getting started." As he stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind him with enough force to rattle the windows, Samantha sank onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. The illusion of their perfect life together was rapidly unraveling, and she couldn't help but wonder if she had made a grave mistake. Meanwhile, I sat across from Derek, my hands wrapped around a steaming mug of coffee as I recounted the events of the mediation. He listened intently, his brow furrowed in concentration. "I can't believe he had the audacity to threaten you," he said, shaking his head in disgust. "The man has no shame." I shrugged, trying to mask the residual fear that still lingered in the depths of my heart. "It's just empty bravado," I said, forcing a smile. "He's all bark and no bite." Derek's expression darkened. "I wouldn't be so sure," he murmured, his voice laced with concern. "Calvin's a desperate man, and desperate men are capable of dangerous things." A chill ran down my spine at his, but I pushed the uneasy feeling aside. "Even if he tries something, we'll be ready," I said, my voice resolute. "We have the upper hand now." Derek nodded, but the worry lines etched across his forehead didn't fade. "Just promise me you'll be careful," he said, reaching across the table to take my hand in his. "I don't want anything to happen to you or those beautiful kids of yours." I squeezed his hand, drawing strength from his unwavering support. "I promise," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "We've come too far to let him win now." As the days passed, Calvin's world continued to crumble around him. News of his professional misdeeds began to leak, spreading like wildfire through the business community. Clients and colleagues alike turned their backs on him, horrified by the extent of his deceit. Samantha, unable to bear the weight of the scandal, packed her bags and left, disappearing without a trace. Calvin was left to face the consequences of his actions alone, his once powerful empire reduced to ashes. And through it all, I watched from the sidelines, a sense of vindication washing over me. Calvin had thought he could break me, but in the end, his own arrogance and greed had been his undoing. As I held my children close, their innocent laughter filling the air, I knew that I had won the greatest victory of all, the ability to provide them with a safe, loving home, free from the toxic influence of their father. Calvin's collapse was a harsh lesson in karma, a reminder that no matter how powerful or invincible one might seem, the truth always has a way of catching up. And as I looked towards the future, I couldn't help but feel a sense of hope and possibility, knowing that I had emerged from the ashes of my past, stronger and more resilient than ever before. The sharp ring of my phone cut through the peaceful silence of the evening. I glanced at the caller ID and felt my heart sink. It was Derek. "Hello?" I answered, a sense of dread settling in the pit of my stomach. "Miranda, you need to turn on the news. Right now." Derek's voice was laced with urgency, sending a chill down my spine. Without a word, I grabbed the remote and switched on the television, my breath catching in my throat as the headline flashed across the screen, "Local businessmen embroiled in fraud scandal." And there, larger than life, was Calvin's face, his expression a mixture of defiance and barely concealed panic as he was swarmed by a pack of ravenous reporters. "Mr. Archer, is it true that you've been embezzling funds from your company?" One of them shouted, thrusting a microphone in his face. Calvin recoiled, his jaw clenched tight. "No comment," he growled, pushing his way through the throng. But the reporters were relentless, their questions growing more pointed and accusatory with each passing second. "What about the allegations of insider trading? Can you confirm or deny your involvement? How do you respond to the claims that you've been bribing government officials to secure lucrative contracts?" Calvin's face contorted with rage, his mask of composure slipping as the weight of the accusations bore down on him. "Get those cameras out of my face!" he snarled, lashing out at the nearest reporter. The scene descended into chaos, a flurry of shouting and jostling bodies as Calvin fought to escape the relentless onslaught of questions and accusations. I watched in stunned silence, my heart pounding in my chest as the reality of what was unfolding hit me. This was it, the final nail in the coffin of Calvin's once pristine reputation. As the news coverage shifted to a panel of analysts dissecting the scandal and speculating about the potential legal ramifications, I felt a surge of vindication coursing through my veins. Calvin had brought this upon himself, and now the world was bearing witness to the true depths of his depravity. The phone buzzed in my hand, snapping me out of my trance. It was Derek again. "Did you see it?" he asked, his voice tinged with a mixture of satisfaction and concern. "I saw it," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "It's really happening, isn't it?" Derek let out a long exhale. "Yes, it is, and there's no turning back now." A heavy silence hung between us, the weight of the situation settling like a thick fog. "Are you okay?" Derek asked, his voice softening with concern. I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. "I'm okay," I said, surprised by the steadiness of my own voice. "This is what we wanted, isn't it? For him to face the consequences of his actions." "Yes, but that doesn't make it any easier," Derek said gently. "You're allowed to feel conflicted, Miranda. This is a lot to process." I swallowed hard, my gaze drifting to the twin cribs in the corner of the room, where my precious babies slept peacefully, blissfully unaware of the storm raging around them. "I know," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "But I have to stay strong. For them. They deserve a life free from the toxic legacy their father has left behind." Derek was silent for a moment, and when he spoke again, his voice was laced with a quiet pride. "You're an incredible woman, Miranda Archer. Never forget that." As I ended the call and set the phone aside, I couldn't help but reflect on the long and arduous journey that had led me to this moment. Calvin's public disgrace was the final blow, the culmination of his own selfish actions and misdeeds. And yet, as I watched the news footage replaying in an endless loop, I felt no sense of triumph or satisfaction, only a profound sadness for the man he had become, and a fierce determination to ensure that my children would never bear the scars of his misguided choices. The road ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Calvin's reign of terror was over, and it was time for me to step into the light, embracing the future with open arms and a heart full of hope. The soft glow of birthday candles flickered across the faces of my loved ones, their smiles warm and radiant as they gathered around the twins' cake. It was hard to believe that an entire year had passed since that fateful day in the hospital, the day my world had been shattered by Calvin's betrayal. But as I looked around the room, surrounded by the people who had stood by me through the darkest of times, I couldn't help but feel a profound sense of gratitude and hope. Evan, his eyes shining with pride, beamed at me from across the table, his unwavering support a constant source of strength. And beside him sat Derek, his hand resting comfortingly on my arm, a silent reminder that I was no longer alone. The twins giggled and clapped their hands, oblivious to the tumultuous journey that had brought us to this moment. For them, this was simply a day of celebration, a chance to revel in the unconditional love that surrounded them. As the birthday song faded into a chorus of cheers and laughter, I couldn't help but reflect on the long and winding road that had led me here. The pain and heartache of Calvin's betrayal, the fear and uncertainty that had threatened to consume me, all of it had been a crucible, forging me into a stronger, more resilient version of myself. No longer was I the meek, downtrodden woman who had cowered in the shadow of her husband's cruelty. I was a survivor, a warrior, who had stared down the demons of my past and emerged victorious. "Blow out the candles, Mommy," one of the twins exclaimed, their tiny voice cutting through my reverie. I smiled, leaning down to press a kiss to each of their foreheads before taking a deep breath and extinguishing the flickering flames with a single, decisive puff. A chorus of cheers erupted around the table, and I felt a warmth bloom in my chest that had nothing to do with the candles. This was my life now, a life filled with love, laughter, and the promise of endless possibilities. As the party wound down and our guests began to trickle out, Derek lingered behind, his gaze soft and affectionate as he watched me tidy up. "You've come so far, Miranda," he said, his voice laced with pride. "I can't even begin to tell you how amazed I am by your strength." I paused, turning to face him with a grateful smile. "I couldn't have done it without you," I said, my voice thick with emotion. You were the one who helped me find my way back when I thought I was lost forever." Derek shook his head, his eyes shining with a quiet intensity. "You found your own way," he said, taking a step closer. "I was just lucky enough to walk beside you." Our gazes locked, and in that moment the air seemed to crackle with a charged energy, a silent acknowledgement of the bond that had been forged between us through fire and adversity. Before I could second-guess myself, I closed the distance between us, my lips finding his in a tentative, exploratory kiss. Derek froze for a heartbeat before melting into the embrace, his arms wrapping around me with a tenderness that threatened to undo me. When we finally broke apart, breathless and flushed, I couldn't help but let out a tremulous laugh. "I never thought I'd find happiness again," I confessed, my voice barely above a whisper. Derek cupped my face in his calloused hands, his eyes shining with a fierce determination. "You deserve all the happiness in the world, Miranda, and I'll spend every day making sure you get it." As he pulled me into another searing kiss, I knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with love, laughter, and the promise of a future untainted by the ghosts of my past. Calvin's shadow no longer loomed over me, for I had stepped into the light, embracing the strength and resilience that had been forged in the fires of adversity. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, I didn't fear the unknown. With my children by my side and the love of a good man to guide me, I knew that I could conquer any obstacle that dared to cross my path. This was my life, my story, and I was the author of my own destiny.
After finishing work on a Saturday and returning home, only my younger daughter was there, left behind. My husband had taken off with our eldest daughter, whom he had been doting on. When I called him right away, he said,
"I've decided to take Angela to New York for modeling. I don't want to deal with you guys anymore, so hurry up and divorce me."
"What? You're just going to leave us like that?"
"Yup. That unattractive kid and you who gave birth to her are useless to me now. I'm going to make it big with my gorgeous Angela, so don't bother contacting us."
"Is she with you? Let me speak to her." Then I heard the voice of my eldest daughter on the phone. "I'm happy with Dad, so I don't need you or my plain little sister anymore." While I was speechless at her giggling, my husband got back on the phone.
"Got it. Go ahead and live a miserable life by yourselves. All right then, make sure you sign the divorce papers."
Stunned by the abrupt end of the call, my younger daughter tugged at my sleeve. "An unattractive girl like me isn't his daughter. He said he didn't want me." I finally exploded in anger. He only showered affection on our eldest and left us behind. On top of it all, he even left an indelible mark on our youngest. I vowed to hold him accountable someday. Just wait and see. I contained my anger and told her, "It's okay. I'll make sure he regrets this." 10 years later, an astonishing turn of events unfolded for us. I'm Teresa, a 46-year-old single mother of a 16-year-old daughter named Nadia. Actually, I have another daughter, who's an older sister to her. Let me start my story by explaining why I'm living only with one daughter. I got married once at the age of 25. My ex-husband's name is Ryan. He was a professional photographer. When I started working, I was chosen as a hair model for a salon. He was the photographer at the shoot and asked me out. That was how it all began for us. He was into fashion and cared a lot about appearances. He honestly told me that he fell for my looks. 2 years into our relationship, he popped the question.
"Babe, will you marry me? I'll surely keep making you happy."
Of course. I feel so lucky to have you. His job and income weren't steady, but since I had a good job at a major company, I wasn't too concerned.
"I want a kid right away. A girl would be nice. I want to doll her up a lot."
Boy or girl, either would be adorable for sure. I'm so excited. 6 months after that conversation, my pregnancy was confirmed. When we found out it was a girl, he jumped up and down with joy.
Well done, love. Surely our girl will be cute because she's ours.
During my morning sickness phase, he helped with chores and took care of me a lot, and eventually I gave birth. What came into the world was an adorable girl with big, deep blue eyes. We named her Angela. While he was good with chores, he didn't help much with childcare. When Angela was in a good mood, he held her or took photos. But when it came to changing diapers or making milk, he suddenly disappeared. I found it frustrating, but I did my best to take care of our baby. By the time Angela turned 3, she had grown quite adorable, and people praised her prettiness. Ryan was ecstatic about it.
She could become an actress or a model in the future. She's so cute.
Yeah, maybe. But we should support whatever path she chooses. Around that time, I found out about my second pregnancy. It was another girl, and he was overjoyed again.
I'm sure she's going to be cute just like Angela. They'll be talked about as beautiful sisters.
Handling pregnancy while raising Angela was tough, but I survived and gave birth to a little girl. However, she didn't resemble Angela as Ryan expected and had slanted brown eyes. Still, she was undeniably cute. I cradled her and showed her to Ryan. Suddenly, his expression twisted.
What the heck's wrong with her? She's got brown eyes.
Shush! She's our beautiful child. Here, hold her.
You and I have blue eyes, so why does she come out with brown? Ugh, her eyes are slanted too. I'm disappointed that such an unattractive baby came out.
Oh my god. How dare you say that?
God darn it. The dream of having sibling models is over. I have to take care of Angela, so I'm leaving.
Just like that, without even discussing the name of our second daughter, he took Angela's hand and left the hospital. And don't worry, you have a bright future ahead. I'll do anything to protect you. I named her Nadia and hugged her tightly. After I was discharged, life as a family of 4 began. Ryan only doted on Angela and never paid attention to Nadia. He'd give Angela heaps of presents on her birthday, but didn't even remember Nadia's. So, I always made sure to prepare as many gifts for her. I constantly warned him about the unfair treatment. Stop discriminating against one daughter over the other. They're both our precious kids, you know?
Oh, shut up. I don't need to bother with that unattractive one.
Are you seriously saying that? As a parent, that's outrageous.
Come on. She probably got brown eyes from your dad, you know?
Indeed. My dad did have brown eyes. The gene must have skipped a generation. But what was the problem with it? So what if she doesn't have blue eyes?
I don't care about the plain-looking kid. You gave birth, so take responsibility for raising her. I'm busy taking care of Angela, so don't bother me.
He became cold, not only toward Nadia, but to me as well, blaming me for her look. When Angela was in 1st grade and Nadia was in preschool, Nadia made it to the final during the dance competition. Do you think Dad will be proud of me? I reassured my worried little daughter. He sure will be. Let me play some music, and you can dance for him when he comes home. So when he returned, I had her do just that. She tried so hard, hoping for praise from her dad. She was amazing, even leaving aside parental bias. Did you like it, Dad? I did my best. After finishing the dance, she ran to her father, but to my horror, he pushed her away.
Like I care. Wasting my time. Even if you danced well, it means nothing, you know? If you had good looks like Angela, it would have been different.
Shush, honey. When I intervened, Angela suddenly appeared, smirking. The not-so-cute one tried so hard but failed. Angela, watch your mouth. She was excellent. I scolded her immediately, to which Ryan glared fiercely at me.
Don't talk to my girl like that.
And then he took her to the bedroom for their nightly bedtime movie. I want to watch a movie with Dad too. All I could do was hug Nadia, who trembled, fighting back her tears. After that, Ryan continued doting on Angela, ignoring Nadia. I dedicated myself to giving more love and attention to Nadia. Time passed, and Angela turned 9, and Nadia was 6. One day, I had to work on Saturday, so I left the girls with Ryan. When I hurried home in the evening to make dinner, I found Nadia alone, waiting for me. Hey, Nadia, where's Dad and Angela? Dad took her and left, she whispered tearfully in a small voice. Checking the rooms, I noticed some of their belongings were missing. Moreover, there were divorce papers on the table. I called Ryan immediately, and he picked up after a few calls.
Hello, what do you want?
What do you mean you left? Is Angela with you? And what are these divorce papers? I fiercely rattled on in one breath, and he answered irritatedly.
Stop hissing. I decided to take Angela to New York for her modeling. I don't need you or Nadia anymore, so divorce me quickly.
What? You're just going to leave us like that?
Yep. That unattractive kid and you who gave birth to her are useless to me now. I'm going to make it big with my gorgeous Angela, so don't bother contacting us.
Where is she? Is she with you? Let me speak to her. Then I heard her voice on the phone. I'm happy with Dad, so I don't need you or my unattractive little sister anymore. While I was speechless at her giggling, Ryan got back on the phone.
Got it. Go ahead and live a miserable life by yourselves. Alright then, make sure you sign the divorce papers.
Stunned by the abrupt end of the call, my younger daughter tugged at my sleeve. An unattractive girl like me isn't his daughter. He said he didn't want me. I finally exploded in anger. He only showered affection on our eldest and left us behind. On top of it all, he even left an indelible mark on our youngest. I vowed to hold him accountable someday. Just wait and see. I contained my anger and told her, it's okay. I'll make sure he regrets this. Then, I hugged her in my arms tightly. After that, I went through with divorce. Ryan and Angela started living in New York City, but they blocked my number, so I didn't know their whereabouts. I worked while earnestly raising Nadia. The words and abandonment by her father deeply scarred her, and she remained unstable for a while. One day, I took her to check out a dance class. Remember, you were good at dancing. Want to try it out? Can a girl like me be accepted? Don't say that. You shine when you're dancing. She finally smiled and started going to the dance class enthusiastically. From then on, we built a strong bond of mutual support and solidarity. She willingly helped with the chores, excelled in school, and grew into a wonderful young adult. Years passed, and she turned 16 and started attending high school. While spending time at home as usual, the doorbell rang suddenly. Much to my surprise, I saw a completely transformed Ryan and Angela standing there. He looked emaciated, his head full of gray hair, visibly aged. Angela, on the other hand, retained her facial features, but had gained a lot of weight. Please leave. As soon as I said that, they forcibly barged into the house. Ryan went straight to Nadia and looked her square in the face.
I can't believe this. You're really the sought-after back dancer, Nadia.
She had grown beautifully over the past 10 years. Moreover, recognized for her dancing style, she had been working as a back dancer of top-rated musicians. Though her looks may be ordinary, her dance techniques were highly praised compared to the others at her age, making her one of the most wanted dancers in music videos. Facing them, she silently placed her glass down and looked at the two.
Nadia, do you remember me? I'm your dad. I never expected you to become this successful. I saw you on TV and couldn't believe my eyes. You're my proud daughter.
Did you come back just to say that? When I intervened, he glared at me intensely.
Shut up. Why didn't you tell me about her success in the first place?
I had no obligation to do so. He always favored Angela and left us. Remember? He cursed me under his breath, and then turned to Nadia once again to flatter her.
Listen, Nadia, we came all the way today with a request. Can you introduce Angela to your connections?
What in the world? I involuntarily let out a screech. Then, Angela interjected, her nostrils flaring. I've been auditioning for music videos and stuff, but I never get called back. No modeling gigs either. How is it possible that someone as beautiful as me is unknown, while a plain Jane like you is all over the media? Nadia was quietly eating dinner while staring at the two, but she hadn't said a word.
Hey, Nadia, if you recommend her, you guys will be famous as the beautiful sisters. I'm begging you. You must know all sorts of people in the industry. So, it's easy, right?
Darn right. You gotta hook me up. You must be happy that your sister's back, right? Things that came out of their mouths were beyond foolish and almost lunatic. Just as I was about to shut them off, Nadia quietly spoke up. Who are you guys?
Huh?
They were perplexed, looking at each other, but they quickly grew angry.
Are you mocking us? I'm your father who raised you.
So rude. We're family, aren't we? Nadia cut them off bluntly. My family is just my mom. I don't know you people.
Your mom?
Nadia glanced at me, to which I replied with a nod. She's right. Please, leave now. At that moment, Ryan shoved me hard.
Don't act so high and mighty, you wicked witch.
Nadia rushed to my side, her face boiling with anger. What the heck, Baldy?
Baldy?
He was shocked by her direct insult. Nadia continued fiercely, paying no attention. Let me tell you something. You used to hurl insults at me and irresponsibly abandoned me and Mom. Do you have any idea how I felt back then? I'll never forgive you. I'll never acknowledge you as a father. He gasped, and then fell silent. She turned her attention to Angela next. And you? What the heck happened to you? You let yourself go and you're looking like a walrus. You probably never put in any effort, did you? Do you think someone like that can become anything? I'm bored listening to your nonsense. Walrus? Are you saying I'm big? Her plump face twisted in anger, but Nadia didn't stop. Do you have any idea how hard I've worked in these past 10 years? Mom always believed in me and encouraged me. I am who I am now thanks to her. Oh, sweetheart. You just came here trying to suck up to me, but you're strangers. Get out of here already, you trash. Ryan and Angela flinched at her ferocious expression. I immediately grabbed my phone, showing the screen to them. If you don't leave now, I'll call the police.
Please, no need to do that. But listen to me, Teresa. Our life's tough these days. You have a good job and Nadia's making a lot too, right? Can't you help us a little?
All right, I'm calling in 3, 2, 1.
Angela, let's go.
And so they finally left with their tails between their legs. What I heard from distant relatives was that Ryan took Angela to NYC to become a model. However, the competition was much steeper than he ever imagined, and she wasn't able to get any offers. She didn't give up and kept auditioning, but being spoiled by Ryan inflated her self-esteem. Moreover, there was no one to manage her lifestyle, so she ended up with that body shape. Ryan earns a meager income as a photographer, but it all disappears in her food expenses. Nevertheless, they came to us trying to seize an opportunity. I hear that he's still determined to make Angela a celebrity, but it's likely an impossible dream. Not putting effort into anything to polish her skills, her overconfidence won't sustain her as a working professional. They'll probably continue to struggle ahead. On the other hand, I have a fulfilling life with Nadia.
Mom, I'm going to spoil you rotten from now on,
she declares happily. It's all right. I'm just happy to see you shining and enjoying what you love. As we talk, that's her dancing powerfully on the TV screen in front of us.
Bam! Hey, my food is cold. Reheat it.
Yes.
Draw the bath and give me a beer.
Yes.
Hurry up! You're so clumsy. Why can't you get things done efficiently, you slug?
The abuse was hauled at me by my husband day after day. He sneered in satisfaction when he saw me biting my lip.
I'm the breadwinner of the family, so I must be the most respected. You can't live without me. A wife is expected to obey her husband. If you don't like it, show me you can make half of what I do.
He wasn't like this before. I couldn't take it anymore. I'm leaving you.
Ha ha ha, you idiot! You're gonna come back to me in a few days anyway. After all, you're just a housewife who doesn't make a penny.
A housewife? Unable to make a penny? What a ridiculous assumption. Whatever, he was going to realize that sooner or later. He'd know what a fool he was and who he turned against. I'm Kim, an ordinary housewife. I've been married for 5 years. My daughter Sarah is still a handful, but I'm basking in the happiness of parenthood. My husband Bill and I met at work. He worked in sales, and I was an administrative assistant in his department. He was the one chasing after me. We exchanged our numbers at an office party and hung out a few times. I was unsure about his forcefulness at first, but I fell for his masculinity and accepted his proposal.
I will make you happy for the rest of your life.
After the proposal, he asked me to quit my job and be a housewife.
My mom was a housewife, and my dad was a breadwinner in the family. I want us to be the same as them. My ideal family is one where my wife keeps the home.
He spoke enthusiastically and dreamed of creating a home as his parents did. He wanted me to support him as a traditional wife. Although I found my work at the company rewarding, I believed his words of, "I will support you," and resigned from my job. When I thought about it afterward, those were such empty words.
Bring me a beer.
My husband never moved from in front of the TV, directing me with his chin. If there was even the slightest delay, he pounded the table. Soon after our marriage, his true nature was revealed. Bossy husband. No, it was antiquated harassment. Even companies nowadays didn't make their female employees fix drinks. Apparently, it was a norm for the wife to silently obey the husband in his family. Don't overshadow me, make me look good, and don't embarrass me. I didn't know what kind of a relationship his parents had, but it seemed to be common knowledge that a wife was like a servant to her husband, at least in his mind. Wait, it was more like a slave.
Why is my dinner already cold? You must prepare a hot and delicious meal for me.
Because you came back so late.
No matter how late I come home, you must be prepared to welcome me back. Why don't you get that? I don't know what kind of discipline your parents gave you.
Then let me know before you come back at least. I can time your dinner accordingly.
Why should I be ordered by you, a housewife? I'm the one making the money. I'm the breadwinner in the family. How should I know what time I will be released from my boss? Does being a housewife make you lose common sense?
I mean,
Enough. Reheat my dinner. And draw the bath too.
yes. He brought up the fact that I was a housewife every time. The one who made money was the ruler. I was a parasitic creature on him. His values seemed to be built all around money, yet he was incredibly carefree with it. Did you go gambling again? I've been asking you to stop.
Shut up. Gambling is my hobby. None of your business if I do.
Sarah is still small. We need money for childcare, and I want her to take some lessons when she starts kindergarten. I can't even buy her toys if you keep losing.
It's the role of the housewife raising a child to make ends meet. Stop being so hysteric. I'm already annoyed by losing a big game today.
You should take Sarah to the park once in a...
Shut up! I can do whatever I want with the money I make. Don't you cross me. You're just a housewife.
I was yelled at by an enraged husband every day. I never wanted Sarah to hear our arguments. Yes, if only I could be patient. But there was an incident that pushed my patience beyond its limit. It was when I returned home from out. Home? Why is my closet open? I remember closing it before I leave. I got a bad vibe and checked inside quickly. I was right. One of my bags was gone. It was an expensive and my favorite bag that my mom bought for me when I landed my first job. She knew firsthand how I struggled to find a job, so when it happened, she gifted me a designer bag. I had always cherished it, filled with the kindness of my beloved mother. When I asked Bill, he nonchalantly admitted, "Oh yeah, that bag. I sold it online." Sold it? Why?
Because you spent on something that was beyond the means of a housewife. It was sold at quite good money. Supposed to be some kind of a designer's brand.
You're wrong. That was...
Anything you buy with my salary generally belongs to me. A housewife has no say in it if I sell it or whatever. Know your status.
You're horrible. I have my own private life too.
What private life? You forced me to look after Sarah and went out today, telling me you were meeting up with your friend. You bought unnecessary things again, didn't you?
I met up with my best friend from the university. It was something really important.
Anyway, you make no money, hence you have no right to argue with me. If you don't like it, show me you can make half what I do. I'm sure you can't.
He sneered at me. I no longer had any desire to argue with him, who declared,
"Let's see if I can win tomorrow's game with the money from selling the bag."
Our heated argument finally reached Sarah's ears, and I heard her cry from upstairs. I couldn't stand him anymore. My patience had drained out. I had endured desperately until now, thinking if I just put up with it, it would be all good. But I couldn't take it anymore. He even messed with my fond memory of my mom. Not only that, our only daughter had finally heard us fighting. It made no sense to deal with him anymore. It definitely had a bad influence on Sarah. There was no way she was going to grow up to be an upright person living with such a father. I was determined to leave him and go back to my parents' house.
You're gonna come back to me in a few days anyway. After all, you're just a housewife who doesn't make a penny.
He never said a word to stop us from leaving. Rather, he was arrogantly assured that I would fail. He already made up his mind that I would end up begging him to take me back later. Let him be. I was determined to start a new life. We are home. Hi, sweeties. Are you okay? Such trouble you're in. Come inside. You must be hungry, Sarah. When I returned home in a gloomy mood, my parents warmly welcomed me back. They told me to stay as long as needed and were happy to have their granddaughter living with them. The warmth of a home made me weep for the first time in a long while. Now, sweetheart. You're still our daughter even though you've been away. Mommy. I'm okay, baby. We're gonna be happy from now on. Dad, Mom, thank you so much. We are so grateful. Our new life had begun lovingly. Sarah had always been fond of her grandparents, so she quickly adjusted to her new life. She seemed rather at ease in the environment with many people around. I was so glad it was before she started kindergarten. I could send her to the same place I went to from my parents' house. I myself had been feeling better. The stress from Bill had taken a considerable toll on my body without me even realizing it. I was able to eat double the amount. I enjoyed every meal just because Bill didn't scold me about the cold dish and told me to make better food. Naturally, I started to smile more. My friends were happy to see me feeling better. When the peaceful time had passed, I received a call from an unknown number. I felt a bit nervous, but decided to pick up the phone. Hello, is this Kim? I was astounded to hear the voice. It was my mother-in-law. She continued, I'm sorry to call you out of the blue. You and Bill are in such a situation. Hi, is something wrong? I need to tell you something. It concerns your safety. Also, I've been meaning to apologize to you. Anyway, listen. Bill came to see us last night. In summary, her story went something like this. He visited his parents to discuss the situation late last night. They found out that I took Sarah and left home, and were stunned to hear what he told them next.
Kim left and hasn't even come back to clean the house. Thanks to her, it's complete chaos now.
But Bill, she moved back in with her parents, right? So you have to do the cleaning yourself.
She left on her selfish will. She should at least come back to clean while I'm at work. Besides, she's a housewife. It's her job to take care of the house.
You're being ludicrous.
She couldn't even do the chores right from the time she was living there. She made up all sorts of excuses like Sarah was still young. The reason she went back to her parents was a reflect of her inability. She's going to learn everything again from her mother and change her attitude toward me. And yet, she's been neglecting the house for over a month now. Listen, have you ever thought why she left you? Huh? What do you mean, Dad? Like I just said, it's because of her inability. If you seriously believe that, she will never come back to you. She's hurt that you look down on her. Oh, whatever, Dad. A housewife obviously must obey her husband. She's supposed to support me, right? You guys have been like that too.
No way! I have never been looked down on by your father. I've been caring for him because I respect the man who works tirelessly for us from bottom of my heart.
And as for me, I truly love her. I've never thought she is lower than me. I don't have life as is without her. No, it's my fault if I made you believe that a husband is above a wife. I apologize to you and Kim. Before that, you must apologize to her. And while you wait for her to forgive you, reflect on what you have done.
That's crazy. He was completely denied his claim by his own parents, whom he was supposed to learn from. Even then his idea remained firm. No matter how hard they lectured him, he adamantly denied his fault. It would have been okay if it stopped there, but he sounded like he was coming to your parents' house to see you. He was like, I'm going to tell her how it should be. It made my husband and I worried about you. It's nice of you to let me know. Thank you so much for your concern. A part of us always worried that he may be treating you badly, but we are very sorry for not trying to get to the truth sooner. Whatever the situation turns out to be, We'll be on your side. Thank you. I will come and see you with Sarah once things settle. Watch out for Bill. You never know what he might do if he gets carried away. Her warning was realized soon after, when I was out leaving Sarah with my mom at home.
Hey, Kim!
Oh no, Bill! He approached me on the street. My husband, I see in a month, looks very disheveled. His shirt was shabby, and his suit was noticeably wrinkled, and didn't look like it had a single lint bulb removed. When I was home, I never missed a day taking care of his suits. Why are you here?
That's my line. What are you doing out here in the middle of the day, leaving Sarah alone?
Well,
you're all dressed up. Don't tell me you're going to meet some guy with a fancy makeup and tight skirt. You look like an Avon sales lady.
I'm just meeting my usual friend. None of your business anyway.
It's my business. I'm your husband. You must have bought these clothes with my salary. Don't you dare talk back to me.
He ran it as usual, but I had no reason to endure him anymore. I bought this with my own money. My makeup and shoes too. How am I supposed to spend your money when I'm not with you anymore in the first place?
Well, wait, you were squandering. That's why I got this stupid thing in the mail.
He confronted me with a paper bill.
Credit card payment. It couldn't be paid from my account. This never happened before you left home.
Oh right, I got it. There was not enough money in his account, and the amount couldn't be debited, so there was a notice from the bank. He thought it was my fault for spending all that money. A shallow mind all the way. I sighed in pity.
What's wrong?
I couldn't help but feel sorry for you because you're so stupid.
Stupid? How dare you?
Yeah. You're the breadwinner who brings money, right? You're too stupid to keep track of your spending.
That's because you overspend.
I swear, I have not touched your money. There's no way even if I wanted to anyway. Because you don't make that kind of money to begin with. It seemed he was having a hard time understanding. I wasn't surprised. I explained to him in detail. Your cheap salary was never enough. It wasn't a problem for a family of 3 to live normally on $4,000, but it was impossible thanks to your gambling.
My gambling?
You lost a great amount, and yet the following week you had to do it all over again. Of course, no money left in the account. I was making up the shortfall to maintain the family finance.
What do you mean by making up? How do you get that kind of money? You are just a housewife. No way. You have a sugar daddy.
Stop saying vulgar things. I earned from a normal job. You were the only one who thought I was a housewife. I was making money from a remote job. I worked from home in between busy household chores. The job had been given by my best friend from the university. She majored in the French language with me. She had a consulting company for the translation business. I steadily built my own career by being entrusted with small jobs. Sometimes I was out to meet her for business meetings. It was never for useless shopping. My stupid husband never knew.
You say you are making up for my losses, but can you make that much money doing that job?
He finally seemed to believe me and asked me with a pale face. I proudly answered. It was very little at first. It's a kind of job where your experience is valued above all else. But I stuck to it and finally got my name recognized. Lately, I have been able to get some big projects. For this month, I'd say I'm at about $8,000.
$8,000?
As I recall, the one who makes the most money is above the other, right? My salary is double yours, so I'm way above you.
Well, that's...
I hate to say this, but I've done all the housework and child rearing on my own, as well as my job. Can you imagine how hard that is? You only work and gamble the rest of the time.
Wait,
He seemed to be shrinking. He couldn't have looked more pathetic. But the next second, he was on his knees on the ground.
I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I had no idea you had been covering for me.
Covering for you? No way. It was a tool to free myself from you.
I sincerely apologize. Please come back. The house is a mess without you. I don't know how to dress, and I'm bored of eating takeaways.
You still treat me as a housewife at this point. Seriously, you are incapable of learning. The breadwinner gets the higher rank, right? Then you clean and cook yourself. You who make cheap income. I quickly turned my back on him, who mourned in a pitiful voice. I was on my way to meet a client for a big project. I was dressed to impress and didn't have time to waste on a pathetic man. I turned around as I'm walking away with one more thought, showing a grin to tearful Bill. I've seen a divorce lawyer. The divorce papers should be sent to you this time, not the credit card bill. Please take care of it. He grunted something, and this time I didn't look back. A year later, I'm still working as a translator. My friend asked me to join her company, but I enjoy my work as is. I've got a translated mystery novel coming out with my name on it. Sarah started kindergarten. With the help of my parents, she quickly adapted and made friends. My ex-in-laws told me when I visited them once that Bill hadn't been able to reflect on what he had done. He told people around him he was glad to have gotten rid of a useless wife, which made his parents enraged and cut ties with him. Rumor on the wind is that he can't get rid of his gambling habit and is involved with a loan shark now. Maybe he still insists that a husband is better than a housewife, but that's no longer any of my business. I, with my parents and Sarah, will make a warm family of 4.
My husband came back with his affair partner to a hotel. He thinks he's the manager, but he doesn't know.
What? Me? I was so surprised, I couldn't help but speak up. We think it's for the best.
Yeah, we talked it over.
My parents in those words made me overwhelmed. I wondered if it was right to entrust such an important matter to me. What I felt at first was more confusion than joy. My name is Gianna, and I am an ordinary office worker at a small business. While I was working hard, I quickly passed the age of 30. It's not that I don't have marriage in mind. In fact, I have a boyfriend named Owen. But there is a reason why I can't get married even after 3 years of dating. It's because Owen's father. He is a manager of a first-class hotel. Owen majored in economics at university and is currently studying hard to succeed his father. If I marry him, I will support him at a top hotel in a country. I was born into an average family, and I don't know much about management outside of my job. Would I be able to support my future husband as a manager? To be honest, I didn't have the confidence to go that far. It was the first time in a while that I had a paid day off, and I was having dinner with Owen.
You know, it's time to start preparing for the future.
Owen looked a little nervous, and he spoke to me.
I turned to him and froze. I know what you mean. I know what you're thinking about. You're feeling pressure because I'm going to be the manager in the future, right?
I nodded my head to his words.
It's not that I want you to do anything. I'm studying at my father's place so that I don't bother you.
But I still had something hazy in my mind. But I was born into an ordinary family, and I don't know if I'll fit in with Owen's parents.
Then don't worry. My parents are nothing like the celebrities you see on TV. Rather, they told me to have a good sense of money. When I was in elementary school, I didn't get any allowance.
Owen laughed and took a sip of water. I hope that's really true, but I'm not sure if someone like me would fit in.
Then, how about you come to my hotel as a guest?
What do you mean? Owen began to explain carefully.
There's a cafe on the first floor at our hotel. I'll bring my parents downstairs when the time is right. Then you know what they're like.
Is that really okay? Isn't it too much for you? Owen nodded his head and smiled.
If I can marry you, Gianna, this is nothing.
Hearing that, I felt my ears turn red. On the day of my appointment with Owen, I prepared a nice dress and a purse and headed for the hotel entrance.
Welcome to our hotel.
I bowed awkwardly to the porter's elegant greeting. Owen told me that some guests are there just for dinner, but Owen said it's fine to dress slightly. I didn't do anything wrong, but my heart is pounding so loudly. I can almost hear it myself. Just looking at the decorations in the lobby, I naturally feel more nervous. I asked the waiter for a cup of coffee and waited for them. While I was a little surprised and distracted by the price of the coffee, I heard a familiar voice.
Well, I'll give this apology gift to the customer later.
I moved my head to look at the front desk. I saw Owen talking with a staff member in a suit. His face looked more dependable than usual. He's probably giving them instructions. I can't interfere with his work. I can only imagine what he's doing. I couldn't help but smile when I saw Owen's work. After the staff went away for a while, an elderly couple came to Owen.
How'd it go?
Yeah, I just got the call.
They said everything's fine. Thank God. He's been a regular customer for over 10 years.
I recognized his parents from a distance. His parents are more gentle-looking and soft-spoken than I expected. I hope it's the same with me. I secretly texted Owen to let him know I was leaving soon and thanked him for making this day possible. They weren't as strict as I thought they would be, and I felt a great weight lifted off my shoulders. Well, I'll be myself in front of his parents. I don't have any special skills, but if that doesn't work out, that's just the end of the story. After several discussions with Owen, we decided on a date to meet his parents. Owen's father is very busy, so we are going to visit him at his work. Owen's mother seems to be looking forward to it. She was worried that her son might not be thinking about getting married. Hello! Welcome, Gianna! She made me feel more welcome than I expected. I'm still a little nervous. How do you do? I greeted her timidly. His father patted Owen on the shoulder with a smile.
I'm so relieved to see you have a good partner in your life.
Owen scratched his head, embarrassed but happy.
Well, Mom, Dad, I'm going to marry Gianna.
Those words made me more nervous. I wonder how his parents will react. I felt their eyes on me and looked up. They were smiling and nodding their heads. We're so happy to have such a lovely girl.
Now we can all rest easy. Haha.
They looked at each other happily. I had not expected such a welcome, so I was relieved. And at the same time, thankful that I was blessed with in-laws. My father-in-law is a kind man, and my mother-in-law has a certain elegance about her. But she treats me as if I were her own daughter. I talked to her a little bit, and she told me that she really wanted a daughter. I never thought I would have a daughter of my own. Thank you for joining our family. Yes, I'm so excited to join the family. I was so happy to hear her words that I unintentionally replied cheerfully. The wedding preparation proceeded at a brisk pace once they started. Of course, the wedding was to be held at Owen's parents' hotel. With the help of the hotel, the date and plans were decided in no time at all. My in-laws were so happy with the wedding that they decided on a very luxurious plan. I don't know the exact price because all the expenses were paid by my parents-in-law. But even I could understand at a glance that it was a very prestigious and luxurious wedding. My parents were literally rolling their eyes at the thought of me marrying the son of a distinguished family. They were relieved when I told them that I had been welcomed by his parents. They seemed to like Owen's good-natured personality. By the time he left, the mood was completely festive. I quit the company I was working for when I got married, and I started working for my father-in-law's hotel. At first, my in-laws didn't want me to take this job, just because they were concerned about me. Gianna, we are not trying to force you to work here, you know?
Yeah, whether you can keep your job or not, my son wouldn't make you feel poor.
They told me that. But when I saw what was going on at the hotel through my husband's work, I wanted to be involved. And as a wife, I wanted to support my husband. The management of the hotel was difficult, but I did my own research and studied steadily by getting help from my husband and my parents-in-law. My husband was doing his best at his job, and my father-in-law said it was okay for him to take a step back. Then, my father-in-law was hospitalized after a cold got worse, so my husband became the manager. My father-in-law's health is gradually getting better, and Owen is taking over the hotel's know-how, so we don't have to worry about him. I'm sure you were just tired because you are a workaholic.
That's probably true. I think about work all the time.
Leave the hotel business to Owen. Please take a good rest. My parents-in-law and I had no doubt that my husband would take care of the hotel. But this was the root cause of everything coming after. For me, it was the beginning of a nightmare. Owen, who at first seemed to be doing his job as usual, 2 months after he took over as manager, little by little, he started to change.
How many times have I told you? Don't bring troubles to me. You stupid son of a bitch. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, sir. Get out of my sight.
I was at my father-in-law's hospital instead of my busy husband, and I rushed over to him. Hey! This is the lobby. You don't have to yell at him here.
What? I'm the one in charge here. Don't interrupt.
I was confused by the change in my husband and turned my head down, and I went down the hallway. I looked back and sighed of what I saw. When my father-in-law was a manager, that hotel had a certain elegance. It used to be a naturally relaxing hotel, but I'm not so sure anymore. Every few minutes, angry shouts echo through the halls, and the guests seem to be cramped. I'm sure my father-in-law would be sad to see this. My mother-in-law doesn't seem to approve of his ways either, though she was a bit hard on him from time to time. He's adamant that he is the manager and won't change his ways. I've seen my husband be faithful and humble, but I wonder if this is my husband's true nature. With my father-in-law's absence and himself on top, I thought my husband had changed completely. It seems that a decent manager has a great influence. The number of customers who used to come when my father-in-law was in charge has gradually decreased. And my husband has been going somewhere these days because he has free time. Of course, it's not to visit his father in the hospital. He's probably going somewhere for fun. But from there, people began to say they couldn't stand Owen's way. Many staff members resigned. Many staff members resigned, including veteran executives who had been with the hotel since my father's time. Now, in addition to poor management, the hotel is facing the difficult problem of a shortage of employees. But instead of changing his attitude, Owen stopped coming to the hotel to escape from reality. I had to fill in for the missing employees. I worked as a waiter and did various other chores to make up for the shortage of employees. Thank you, sir. Please let me know if there is anything I can do. My service skills seem to be well received. I never thought my experience as a part-time worker in a cafe during my school days would come in handy. My mother-in-law was mainly running the business, making up for the lack of staff, just like me. I bet my husband would collapse if he saw us like this. All I could do was force a laugh at her sigh. I'm sorry I dragged you into this too, Gianna. I didn't mean to make you work like this. No, if I can be of any help, I'll do my best. It's not her or my father-in-law's fault. It's my husband, who's completely lost his mind. My husband began to repeatedly go out at night, knowing that his parents were doing all the chores. I, on the other hand, was trying to rebuild the hotel, in cooperation with my mother-in-law and my father-in-law, who was getting back on track. I did everything from management to customer service. Thanks to that, the number of customers started to come back little by little. Some of the employees came back after my father-in-law told them about the situation. Little by little, the hotel's business situation returned to the way it was before. I noticed that the hotel became more profitable than before. I came up with some new ideas. In the course of my involvement in management, I started to organize events to target new customers. I came up with a number of family-oriented services. My mother-in-law said to me, I'm sure it was all thanks to Gianna's ideas. I would smile and cover it up because I was embarrassed. I was relieved to see her happy face. When the business was going down, I was worried that the hotel would go bankrupt. Especially my mother-in-law. Perhaps because of the stress she was under, she had lost weight. Even then, my husband was escaping in reality and playing around. It was only natural that my father-in-law would be furious. It was a mistake to let him take over the business, he said angrily. But whatever the situation, we've been through a great ordeal. I felt a stronger bond with my in-laws than I had when we were first married. They're not just my husband's parents. They are like my real parents to me. After my husband abandoned his job, his father became the manager of the hotel again. I thought that was going to be the case for a while. But things have progressed in ways I never expected. A short time later, my husband came back to the hotel with an indifferent look on his face. What's the matter? I ran up to him, looked next to him, and stopped. There was a young woman standing next to him, dressed in a fancy dress. I was strongly convinced that the reason he hadn't come home for a while was that there was a woman. My husband looked at me working in the lobby and said, Why are you here? At the moment, he rolled his eyes. I remembered all the hardships I had gone through since my husband left, and I was filled with anger. It's all because of you, isn't it? I almost said it, but I swallowed it down. I was just running an errand. My husband still looked at me quizzically as I replied, You can only do a few chores, can't you? He still couldn't understand what I was doing.
and he was acting like the tyrant he'd been before. Well, now that the manager of this place has returned, from now on, you must obey my orders, he told me in an unknowing manner. His lover leaned on my husband's arm.
Oh my gosh, you are so cool, Owen. I'm not even jealous anymore.
My husband feels good about it. The hotel looks better than before, and the number of guests is increasing. Ha! I guess it's the result of my training as a manager. He said something out of line and smiled confidently. It was obvious that he wanted to look good for his lover. Hearing the commotion, my parents-in-law came to see us. My husband looked proud. Great! Mom, Dad, I've got something to tell you. And he pulled the woman next to him toward him. Gianna, I want a divorce.
What?
I raised my eyebrows. When he finally came home, he suddenly asked for a divorce. I was so dumbfounded to say anything. Then a woman next to him started talking.
Yes, Owen is no longer interested in an old lady like you. And Owen is the manager of this hotel. I always wanted to be that kind of missus. The woman giggled and laughed ungracefully. I couldn't help but laugh when I saw them like that. What's so funny? My husband stared at me upset. Don't tell me you are not divorcing me. I'm going to divorce you even if I have to hire a lawyer. Fine. If you want a divorce, I'll give you a divorce. Then he looked at me with a blank stare. Then, why are you smiling? He didn't seem to understand my attitude, so he attacked me. Then I decided to explain the whole situation to him. I don't mind divorcing you, but you're not the manager anymore. When he heard this, he froze. The woman next to him, what do you mean? She looked up at him and asked him what I meant. When he came to himself, he was trembling with anger. Don't talk nonsense. My father gave me the manager's position. I wonder who was running the hotel into the ground and running away from reality. At these words, my husband's momentum weakened. And then my in-laws came in right away. That's right. While you were playing around, Gianna was working very hard. So what? I'm the manager anyway. That's why I appointed Gianna as a new manager. What? Hearing this, my husband's face turned pale. That woman next to him also turned pale and asked him, Hey, what does it mean? You said you were the manager. I don't get this. Why? As if to stop them from arguing, my father-in-law clears his throat. Gianna was the one who turned the hotel around after it was on the rocks for a while. You, Owen, who ruined the hotel, and Gianna, who restored it. It's obvious who's more qualified to be the manager, isn't it? But it's... And then my mother-in-law, who couldn't contain her anger, joined in. The only thing you were worth is that you brought Gianna here. My husband gritted his teeth in frustration. His partner looks at my husband anxiously. My in-laws valued my management skills and new ideas. I'd been appointed manager in my husband's absence. I was supposed to be the boss. That's when my father-in-law interrupted. You were on a probationary period. It wasn't long after that I fell ill, so it wasn't even formalized. What? No way. My husband was stunned. I think he's finally starting to understand the situation he's put himself in. That's why I am transferring all the rights to this hotel to Gianna. You were putting a stranger before your own son?
My husband started shouting, pointing at me and making a fuss. My mother-in-law stopped him with a snap. Don't be rude to Gianna. Even if you divorce her, she is still our daughter. Even if you are related us by blood, she is much more reliable than an irresponsible son like you. My husband was completely taken aback by his mother's words. The next thing I know, his partner is making a fuss. What do you mean? I was going to leave my husband and get married to you because you said you were the manager. But my husband didn't want to argue anymore. Let's just not make a scene here. Please, leave now. The affair partner also heard my words and fell silent. After that, my husband came to me trying to get back together with me. Of course, I have no intention to starting over with him. My husband was severely scolded by his father, and after filling out the divorce papers, he was cut tie from his parents. As for my ex-husband's affair partner, her husband found out about the affair and was demanding alimony. She doesn't seem too interested in my ex-husband anymore, who has now lost his family and his position as a manager. She accuses him of making a fuss about fraud. They are always fighting. On the contrary, our hotel is doing well today. It's recently featured in a magazine as a hotel with good service. Almost all the rooms are occupied, even on weekdays. I'm going to continue to work hard with people at this hotel. They are my family.
My husband was in a car accident and is in a wheelchair, but when I saw the drive recorder footage,
I am not gonna let you divorce him. Never. Yeah, Mom's right. I can't even walk. That's what my mother-in-law and my husband told me. I married my husband Aiden because I loved him. Even though we are no longer lovers, I still love him dearly as a family. My mother-in-law was strict with me in some ways, but she never said anything unreasonable. My husband's always defended me. Then one day, he had a car accident. It was a big accident, and he didn't regain consciousness. While I was busy visiting my husband and dealing with the accident, I checked the drive recorder. When I saw the footage, I was astonished. I knew I could never forgive my husband. Everything that had happened seems to be a lie. When he regained consciousness, and he was wheelchair-bound, I said goodbye to him. My name is Hazel, a 35-years-old housewife. My husband Aiden and I got married 2 years ago. I was depressed for a long time because my ex-boyfriend, who had promised to marry me, dumped me. I met my husband at a party because my friends were worried about me and took me there. To marry my ex-boyfriend, I started working as a temp instead of getting a full-time job after graduating from college. My ex-boyfriend was a very kind man, and I thought I could build a peaceful family with him. But one day, he suddenly told me that he had fallen in love with a girl in the same class and broke up with me. He said he would pay me alimony for breaking off the engagement, but I refused and ran away from the house I was living with him. My husband was the opposite of my ex-husband. When he arrived at the party, when my friends took me for a drink, Hazel, right? I'm Aiden. Your friend told me you went through a tough time. He asked me right away. My friend had told him that I was not doing well. I'd been afraid to get involved with people since my ex betrayed me. It's been a while since I've been out to a party like this. That's awesome. Here is to taking the first step. I know it's like to be cheated on. I had the same experience, you know. But it's a waste of time to stay depressed. Let's just enjoy today. My heart, which had been heavy for a long time, felt a little lighter. That day, We had a lot of alcohol and a lot of fun. My husband and I exchanged contact information. The next day, he contacted me and we decided to go out for dinner. While talking to him, I could forget the events of the day my ex-boyfriend dumped me that used to be always in my mind. After seeing Aiden for a while, before I knew it, I was no longer reminded of my ex-boyfriend, even when I was alone. I'm happy to see you getting better day by day. And I'm going to keep making you happier, you know? Let's stay together, Hazel. I will never betray you. When I heard these words, I knew I could trust him. We officially started dating. Every day was happy and fulfilling. Even though he was the same age as me, my husband was very dependable. When I had a bad day at work, he cheered me up like he did when we first met. My friends were surprised to see that I had become a different person from the one who had been depressed until a few months ago. After a year of dating, he proposed to me and we decided to get married. I was so happy to be able to marry to a person that I loved so much. When we went to my in-laws' house to say hello, I was so nervous that I couldn't stop sweating. My father-in-law was a man of a few words, but he tried to ease my nerves. My husband also showed me pictures from his childhood to ease my nerves. My mother-in-law was cheerful and true to herself. I don't know why you were so nervous about. I'm not against you getting married. We are going to be a family. She patted me on the back and said with a laugh. Hearing my mother-in-law's words, my nerves instantly relaxed. I'll teach you how to take care of the house, and I'll be strict with you. Mom, Hazel can do everything well without your teaching her. She doesn't need your help. My husband laughed and defended me. My mother-in-law heard what he said. I'm just joking. She laughed. My in-laws live far away, but we'll have a good relationship. That's what I thought. At the wedding, many of our friends celebrated with us. I was so happy that I cried all the time. For the first few years of our marriage, we were really in love. I was looking forward to my husband to coming home after work every day. I would get so much done because I knew the delicious dinner would be waiting for me. My husband's job required a lot of overtime. But no matter how late he comes home, he always eats my dinner. And he always raves about my cooking. And I just want him to praise me more. In my spare time, I look at recipe websites and more dishes to my repertoire. During New Year's, I visited my parents-in-law's house with my husband. My mother-in-law always teaches me how to cook. You should buy an instant pot. Try this meat. It's so tender, isn't it? Sometimes she was kind, of course, but more often she was stern. What are you doing? Well, then you are wasting your time. You need to be smart about what you're doing. I used to cook only for my husband, and I didn't have the skills to cook for other people. I was often told strictly, and it was a learning experience for me. My in-laws are not bad people. I think I was able to live peacefully. But maybe you are happy with just the two of you now. You should have kids soon. The only time I was hurt was when my mother-in-law told me about children. It's not that we don't want to have children. Of course, we want to have a child, but it's not that easy. My husband and I talked about it and decided not to have fertility treatment. It was maybe our fault for not talking to my mother-in-law about it, but every time we saw her, she would mention the child to our faces. Hey, Mom, we have our own timing. When my husband was around, he was quick to cover for me. When he wasn't, I just had to force a smile. A few times a year, my parents-in-law would come to visit and stay at our house.
I didn't want my mother-in-law to say anything. So, when my in-laws come to visit, I clean the house from top to bottom. On the days when we eat home, I made more elaborate dishes than usual. I was so well prepared. She never said anything about the house. But she would still say something about the children. Each time, my husband defended me. Then time passed, and we were married for 5 years. Unlike when we first got married, we are no longer lovers. But that doesn't mean I don't love him anymore. He's still important to me. And we just have become family. I'm sure he's probably the same way. However, no matter how late he comes home, he always eats my cooking. We never had children, but I think we had a good relationship. I thought that no matter how old we get, we will live together with the same sense of distance. My relationship with my in-laws has not changed, and we still see each other a few times a year. The only thing that has changed is that I can talk back to my mother-in-law a little bit now. My mother-in-law is always talking to me about children. You know, what can't be done, can't be done. I can now say it in a joking way. My mother-in-law doesn't get angry at me for that. I know that, but I can't help saying it. I'm sorry. She started to laugh with me. Then one day, I received a call on my phone from an unknown number.
Hello? Is this Aiden's wife? Your husband has been in an accident and is in the hospital. Please come to the hospital right now.
I was so surprised that I couldn't catch up with what was going on. I immediately took a cab to the hospital. Coincidentally, my parents-in-law were visiting us that week. So in the cab, I called my mother-in-law.
Mom, Aiden! It's Aiden!
What? What's wrong, Gianna? Something happened to Aiden?
He had an accident and was taken to the hospital.
I couldn't speak properly because I couldn't stop crying. But my mother-in-law understood immediately. She was on a sightseeing tour with my father-in-law, but they agreed to come to the hospital right away. When I arrived at the hospital, my husband was in surgery. He was driving his car when he was hit from behind. The other car was driving very fast. He was hit hard. The hospital explained that he was unconscious and in critical condition. I broke down in tears, but my mother-in-law said,
I'm sure Aiden will be fine. We just have to wait and believe in him.
I was sorry that my parents-in-law were worried about me, even though it must have been hard for them too. It took a long time, but the surgery was a success and my husband survived. My parents-in-law and I cried in relief. After that, my husband's consciousness didn't come back easily. I took turns with my parents-in-law to make sure that he would wake up at any time. While my in-laws were left in church, I was busy dealing with the accident and other formalities. As far as the police told me, my husband was the victim of the accident. The other party was arrested for dangerous driving. However, the person tested that my husband was also at fault. I wanted to protect my husband. So I went to the location where the accident happened. The car was so damaged. I thought the drive recorder might have been destroyed. But miraculously, it was safe. I took the SD card and checked it with my laptop, and the footage was still there. After that, I headed to the hospital to switch places with my mother-in-law. I was almost at the hospital when I got a call from my mother-in-law.
Hey, Gianna! Aiden has regained consciousness.
She sounded so happy. I rushed to the hospital.
Thank goodness! Aiden, you're awake!
When I arrived at the hospital, I heard my mother-in-law's voice. My husband was able to talk as if he had been just sleeping. "Oh, I was in an accident. I don't remember." When I heard he was awake, his doctor came to check on him, and we all talked to him. My father-in-law also came to the hospital with my mother. His doctor said that the surgery was a success, but he didn't know if we would be able to walk again. He said he would be in a wheelchair for a while and would do the physical therapy, but they can't promise that he will be able to walk again. The atmosphere in the room was heavy, as if it was a different place than when my husband woke up. "Why? I can't walk?" After his doctor left, my husband mumbled to himself. My mother-in-law said to cheer him up, "We will help you as much as we can. Let's do our best in physical therapy so you can walk again. Right, Gianna?" Instead of agreeing with her, I said, "No, I'm leaving him. I want a divorce." Everyone there was surprised at my unexpected answer. "Huh? What are you talking about? In a situation like this, I'll never allow you to divorce my son. You heartless woman." My mother-in-law yelled at me. My husband continued, "Yeah, Mom's right. I can't even walk. How dare you?" My father-in-law was too shocked to say anything. Then, I took my laptop out of my bag and showed them a video. "What if someone finds out already?"
It's okay. We're on break. No one from the office is going to come around here.
Your wife could be watching.
There is my husband and a young woman. The video showing of them talking to each other and making out. She was wearing the uniform of the company where my husband worked. From the conversation, it was clear that he had been having an affair with this woman.
What the hell is this?
When my father-in-law asked in surprise.
No. It was just a fling. There's nothing between me and this woman.
My husband was too nervous to explain himself. My mother-in-law seemed to be at a loss for words, perhaps because she was so surprised. I kept quiet and played the next video.
I'm not doing well with my wife. I'm getting divorced soon. So, let's get married.
Really? Will you marry me? My husband and the woman were talking to each other, giggling.
How disgusting. What are you doing, Aiden?
My father-in-law, who was always so calm, turned into an angry man. My husband was lying on his face.
Aiden, you shouldn't cheat on your wife. Apologize to Gianna. And Gianna, forgive him, okay? Aiden's body is like this now. He can't cheat on you anymore.
The mother-in-law, who had kept quiet until a few minutes ago, became impatient and started defending her son.
Well, I want you to watch something else.
And then I played another video. There was my mother-in-law and my husband.
I want to see my grandchildren's face, you know?
Mom, don't tell Dad,
but I'm thinking of getting a divorce and remarrying. The next one will be young, so you'll be able to see your grandchild soon.
Oh yeah?
That's great.
But if you cheat on your wife, she'll take all the money.
Don't worry, I'm making sure she never finds out. As long as I come home and eat, that's all that matters to Gianna. She's happy as long as I eat her cooking. She doesn't seem suspicious at all. I'll pay it smart. Don't worry. You're so smart. I can't wait to see my grandchildren.
My grandmother knew that my husband was cheating on me, and she agreed he would divorce me so she could see her grandchild's face.
This is disgusting. How dare you two talk like this? I don't want this kind of wife or son. My father-in-law's face turned red and he got super angry. My mother-in-law and my husband are looking impatient, as if they don't know what to do. Which one of us is the heartless one? I'll divorce you, for sure. Why should I help you after all you have done? Please, be happy with your young lover. Goodbye. Wait, Gianna. Ignoring my husband's voice, I left the hospital room. My father-in-law followed me. Gianna, I am so sorry. He bowed deeply. It's not your fault. Thank you for everything. Please tell him that my lawyer will be in touch with him. As I walked out the hospital, the tears that I had been holding back began to flow. I wondered how long I had been deceived. I don't know. But now that I know, I was glad that I could leave him. The divorce went through without a hitch. I got a lot of alimony. And of course, the other woman he was cheating on me with, the lawyer told me that she was a receptionist at Aiden's company. I was surprised to hear that she was just turned 20. They used to meet on their lunch break at a place a few blocks away from the office, and then go back to the office separately. The accident happened while my ex-husband was returning to his office alone. I was a little skeptical as to why he had an accident in his car while he was at work. But after hearing his story, it made sense. My lawyer told me that sometimes she and my ex-husband would take half a day off to visit his lover's house. He was being very thorough so that I wouldn't find out. I don't think my husband thought it would come out this way. And because the affair had become a rumor within the company, I heard that he had to quit his job. And the woman he had an affair with had to quit the company as well. She was young and had no savings, and had to borrow money to pay the alimony. At the same time we divorced, my parents-in-law divorced. My father-in-law couldn't forgive my mother-in-law either. I was surprised when I heard from my father-in-law about the news. My mother-in-law rented a small apartment and are living together after my ex-husband gets out of the hospital. She couldn't afford to rent a handicap-accessible house because they had no money after paying the alimony. My ex-husband's working on physical therapy, but the chance of him being able to walk again is very small. The young lover left my ex-husband when she figured out he may never walk again. I have been living alone for a while now, but it's the first time in quite a while. I am studying to be a certified public accountant. If I get certified, I may be able to get a permanent job through a friend's introduction. I am looking forward to the new chapter of my life, and I will make sure I will enjoy every minute of it.
7 years after my husband's disappearance, he interrupts his father's funeral and starts talking about his inheritance, but...
I'm off then. See ya. After those words, my husband never came home. He disappeared, and the police couldn't find him. I see. He just ran away, didn't he? Maybe he got tired of you. My sister's words sent chills down my spine. My name is Ella. I was born a twin sister. We have the same face, but my parents have always loved only my sister, Charlotte. Dad, Mom, please give me some money. I'm going out with friends. Have you already spent the allowance this month? Yeah, I have. Please, Dad. I promise I'll do well on the final. Okay, then here you are. Yay! I love you, Daddy. My sister has a cunning nature and charming, so my parents always spoiled her. On the other hand, me, who was quiet and reserved, always neglected. Dad,
I need to buy a reference book for my science homework.
I already gave you this month's allowance. Use it wisely.
Oh, okay. My sister became even more selfish and wanted everything I had. Hey, Ella, I like your outfit. I want it. What? No, please don't open my drawer. I bought this with my allowance. I'm sure it looks better on me. I'll take it. Hey, give it back to me. Mom, Ella's being really mean.
Ella, be nice to your sister. Just give it to her.
But why? My parents only listened to what my sister had to say and wouldn't listen to me. Whatever she likes, she'll have it. And my stuff being taken away from me as she pleased. I spent my days patiently enduring. Fortunately, after graduating from college, I got a job in a place far away from my parents' house. I hardly had to see my parents or my sister anymore, and it made me feel better. However, because I was always compared to my sister and neglected, I did not have self-confidence and was never involved in anything fun. I lived my life working diligently and steadily. It was during this time that I met a future husband, Daniel. We often met for business meetings. Here you are. Please check the document.
Thank you. Wow, you've gone into such detail.
I hope it will be useful.
Of course. I'm always grateful to you. If you would like, can we have dinner together sometime?
Dinner? Oh, sure. I have never had a dinner alone with a man before. I assumed it would be just another business meal. Then he started asking me out to eat with him. And one day,
Ella, would you be my girlfriend?
What? Me? Are you serious?
Yes. You're a beautiful person inside out. I love everything about you.
I can't believe that someone would tell me things like that. I was surprised, but at the same time, my heart filled with joy. I'm so happy. Thank you, Daniel. My eyes welled up, and we officially started dating. He is a hard-working and sincere person. He works for a big company and earns good money. But he isn't a spender, lives a solid life. After a few years of dating, we got married. I became a full-time housewife and moved in with my in-laws' house.
Mom, Dad, this is Ella. She's a family now. Welcome, Ella. I hear you're a good, hard-working girl.
We are going to be a family now. So don't be shy, okay? Okay. Thank you for your warm welcome. I was relieved that they both welcomed me with a smile. They run a small business and their house is quite big. My in-laws and I were able to build a great relationship, and we respected each other.
Why don't we all go out for dinner today? Anything you want to eat, Ella? Anything you like?
Really? I feel Italian would be good. Italian sounds good. I heard there is a new restaurant opened across the street.
Yeah, let's go there then. Ella, order whatever you like.
My in-laws are very friendly and always make me happy. Ella, this necklace would look good on you. I used to wear it, but would you like to have it? Wow, it's beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm glad you would wear it for me. You are my daughter now. My parents-in-law love me and treat me like a real daughter. What a blessing to be in a family with such a good people. It's so different from when I lived with my own blooded family. I have a home now, where I can feel safe and a family that appreciates me. I thought this happiness would last forever. But has Daniel come home yet? No, I tried to contact him, but he didn't return my calls. He didn't reply to any of my messages. It's too late.
Do you have any idea where he might be at?
No, I can't think of anything. I'll check with his friends. One day, out of the blue, my husband disappeared. He went to work and never came home. I checked with his coworkers and friends, but no one had any idea where he went. I reported to the police, but they had no clue. I was worried that he might have been in an accident somewhere. The sudden disappearance of my husband changed our peaceful, happy life. I felt nothing but anxiety and despair. I was at my wit's end, not knowing what to do. All I could do was wait for him all day. And my parents-in-law sat on the sofa and cried, worried about my husband.
Where did he go? I can't believe he just disappeared like that.
Nobody knows how or why it happened. But maybe I did something to hurt him without my knowledge. It could be my fault. When I saw my in-law's sad face, I somehow blamed myself. If it's my fault, there's no place for me in this house. We've come so far as a family, and I believed this was where I belong. I was so overwhelmed with despair that I hid myself in my room and cried. Then I got a call on my cell phone. Is it my husband? I picked it up and saw the screen, but it was from my sister, Charlotte. She calls me every once in a while, but most of the time, she would just brag about things and talk one way or the other, and making me feel like an idiot. I always let her talk and not listening to her seriously. But this time, I was so distressed that I told her about my situation. Hey, what's up, Ella? Not good, actually. What's wrong? You sound serious. My husband disappeared. What? The boring husband I saw at the wedding? He disappeared. So I reported to the police, but they couldn't find him. Oh, really? He just ran away, didn't he? Maybe he got tired of you. She laughs like she makes fun of me. Maybe that's one possibility. I blamed myself more than I was angry at her insensitivity. I am not aware that I did anything to my husband. Again, I started to feel it was my fault. I was tormented by guilt and blamed myself day after day. I couldn't even eat properly. Maybe I should leave this house now. Then one night, I couldn't sleep and I went downstairs to drink some water. Then I heard my in-law's voice from the living room.
What is he thinking? This is not right.
This is too hard. But I'm sure Ella is having the hardest time.
Yeah, you're right. I can't believe how much she's been through after his disappearance. I feel sorry for her.
It doesn't make any sense for him to leave such a good wife behind. It only makes sense he just got involved in some kind of an accident or something.
Yeah, I can't think of any reason why he would run away.
While I was listening to my parents-in-law's conversation on the stairs, I bursted into tears. More than themselves, they care about me and were concerned about me. I couldn't stop crying because of the kindness of my in-laws. I should not be at a loss forever. My parents-in-law are also suffering from the loss of their own son. I have to support them as a daughter, and I was determined to get back on my feet. I made your favorite cherry pie today. Let's eat it together.
Whoa, Ella. This smells good.
If you were to get sick, I'm sure Daniel would be sad. So, cheer up. Yes, you're right, Ella. Thank you. Meanwhile, I went around talking to colleagues and friends, trying to find out where my husband might be. I kept looking for him, but I couldn't find him. Then, I noticed that $100,000 was missing from my husband's bank account. I talked to the police, but there was no progress. Since there was no clear case, the police seemed to think he was a runaway. I'm home. I'm sorry I'm late. Hi, Ella. Any leads? No, nothing particular. I guess the police wouldn't look for a missing adult. Anyway, I bought some cupcakes on the way home. You like them, right? Oh, thank you, Ella. They look delicious. My in-laws still look a little anxious, but they were starting to get their strength back. We helped each other, encouraged each other, and lived together like a real family. Then, 7 years after my husband's disappearance, my father-in-law passed away. He was hospitalized for a while due to an illness, but the treatment was ineffective. He passed away peacefully in his hospital bed. When my mother-in-law and I were in tears after the funeral, we heard a familiar voice.
Hello, I'm back.
Hey, Ella. It's been a while.
What? Daniel.
To my surprise, my husband showed up at my father-in-law's funeral, and he was with my sister Charlotte. What? Why? Where have you been?
Well, actually,
according to my husband, he was living at my parents' with my sister. 7 years ago, my sister stole my husband and got pregnant. It seems my parents were in on it too, helping my husband disappear.
I heard my dad passed away, so I'm here to receive an inheritance.
He wasn't even hesitate to say what he was after. He had been living off his savings. Are you crazy? How selfish! My mother-in-law and I are trembling with anger. You don't know how it was like for my father-in-law to die with all that worry.
At first, I devoted my life to you, Ella. But no matter what you do, you were always too lame. It was no fun to be with you.
You're right. Ella, it's super boring.
But your sister here, Charlotte, you have the same face and you were so different. When I met Charlotte, my life changed. She was perfect for me. I felt really happy when I was with her. I couldn't have kids with you, Ella, but I had a kid with her instantly. Charlotte and I were meant to be together. My husband started to justify his infidelity with a theory that is too selfish. And my sister, who didn't even get a job in her entire life, found out at our wedding that my husband worked for a big company and earns good money. Approached him behind my back. You thought you could take my things like you used to do. Some good money this time, right? Whatever. He just came to love me more. Anyway, I'm the son. I have the right to inherit Dad's money.
Yeah. He's got to have what he's entitled to.
She's right. I have a right. So, give me my money.
It seems like my sister brainwashed him into coming to his parents' house to ask for money. I can't believe he's become such a pathetic human being.
That's enough. It's not gonna happen.
It was my mother-in-law who couldn't hold back and lost her temper first.
Why? It's my money.
I don't care how many times you ask for it.
Go home. I'll be back. Prepare my money next time.
My mother-in-law was so furious that my husband and my sister left. But after that, they started following me and my mother-in-law around.
Hey, just give it to me already. I have to pay back the money.
I don't care. It's your debt.
It's my money, and I'm supposed to get it.
Yes, you have to give it to us. Why should I give it to you? Now, leave. My husband and my sister wouldn't give up no matter how many times I asked them to leave. I was about to turn them away when my mother-in-law came out from the back.
Are they here again?
Yes. My sister attacked my mother-in-law, who was showing a disgusted look on her face. Your son is begging, but you're just acting like a bitch.
My son is dead.
Huh? My husband and my sister got speechless at my mother-in-law's firmness. There is a grave in the backyard.
What? No way.
They rushed to the cemetery in the woods behind the house. The gravestone is indeed inscribed with the husband's name. My husband was supposed to have died as a result of his disappearance. 7 years after the declaration of disappearance, the person can be declared dead in the family register. This is why my mother-in-law inherited the entire fortune. My marriage to Daniel was already being dissolved.
Hey! I am alive.
You see me right here. Yes, he is alive. So he should get the money, right? My ex-husband and my sister are screaming in a panic. Well, you were so lucky, you know. I'm not claiming any alimony from you two for cheating, because he's already dead.
What? Alimony?
If you keep following me around asking for money, I'll deal with you in a harsh way.
Hey, wait! I'm your son. It's my money. And that's not fair. I'm telling you, my son is dead.
You're his mother. You are really a bitch. You see him standing right here. If my ex-husband were still alive, I'll be suing him for alimony. Well, he betrayed his family, so I'm sure he'll pay plenty of alimony. If only he was alive.
Oh, shoot.
Got it? So, I am not giving you any money. Now, leave. My ex-husband and my sister were playing the victim, and we coldly rejected them. They left in a huff when they heard the word alimony. After that, my parents came crying to me, as if they had heard the story from my sister.
We're really in trouble. We have a lot of debts, and we need your help.
Yes, we are family after all. Family? You've taken away my husband and tortured me for a long time. I'm not going to give you any money.
No way.
My parents have been spending a lot of money on my sister, and they can't afford it anymore. That's what happens when you spoil her like that. You deserve it. My ex-husband had been living with them without a job because he thought he had a lot of money saved up. My sister spends a lot of money without thinking about the family budget, and it costs a lot to raise a child. Soon, his savings ran out, and they were in debt even with her parents' support. What are you going to do? Do something about the money.
Oh, okay. I'll get a job then.
But my ex-husband, who was treated as deceased, had no family register and couldn't get a proper job. What are we going to do now? We're in huge debt.
I never thought I'd have a second child.
I never thought I'd get pregnant again either. But it's your baby, so do something about it. My sister's tummy is huge, and their situation with the money seems hopeless. I don't know what happened between my ex-husband and my sister. I don't even care. As for me, I live a happy, peaceful life with my mother-in-law. Hey, how about Paris?
Paris? That would be wonderful.
I always wanted to visit Europe. You said you wanted to see Buckingham Palace too. Why don't we take a trip to Europe?
Really? This is like a dream come true.
My mother-in-law is the only family I have who truly cares about me. I will take good care of her, and we will continue to help each other as a family.
My mom was in critical condition, and I rushed to the hospital to be at her side. She asked to see my husband, so I called him and put him on speaker. Unexpectedly, he yelled at me right off the bat.
Where the heck are you?
I'm with my mom at the hospital. Didn't you get the message that she's in critical condition?
Who the heck cares about that? Come back now.
Are you crazy? She's in bad shape. She's asking for you. Can you come here now?
Why do I have to go all the way there for your mom?
What?
It's my mom's 60th birthday today. What about the food and cake?
I'm telling you, this isn't the time for that.
What nonsense are you talking about? My mom's celebration is more important. Forget about your mom.
That was the last straw for me. I felt an overwhelming surge of anger towards him. Nevertheless, I didn't want to start a fight at my mom's side. I turned off my phone and trembled in anger.
Hey, what was that about?
As I turned around, my eyes met a figure that stood tall and rigid, and his eyes ablaze in fury. My name is Brianna. I've been a housewife for 2 years since I got married. I was raised by a single mother. After my dad passed away in an unfortunate accident when I was young, my mom raised me all by herself. She always wished for my happiness and worked hard to ensure I lacked nothing. My maternal uncle became almost like my father figure, who gave me lots of attention and love, so I never felt sad about not having a dad. Growing up, I initiated doing the chores, and Mom and I supported each other throughout our lives. Thanks to her, I went all the way to university, and later landed a job at a well-known online shopping company. Although she kept telling me to move out and live independently, I chose to stay with her. To thank her for raising me, I took her on trips and nice meals, spending quality time together. In my late 20s, she started asking me if I was seeing some nice guy. She seemed to worry if I, who was entirely dedicated to work, could find a life partner. I thought giving her grandkids would have been a way to repay her. I had a desire to get married anyway, so I registered at a matchmaking agency and began searching for a partner. It was there, after meeting a few people, that I was introduced to Larry, who later became my husband. He was a sales manager at a medium-sized machinery company. He was 2 years older than me, shared a desire for marriage, and was serious about building a relationship. Eventually, we started meeting up often and got to know each other better. He soon proposed, which I happily accepted. As I gazed at the ring on my finger, he said,
I'm sure my mom would be thrilled to hear about our engagement.
She's living alone, right?
Yeah, since my dad passed away a few years ago, she's been feeling lonely. She'd been overjoyed if I got married and had kids.
My mom would too. After raising me all by herself, she'll surely be thrilled to know that I found someone.
Yeah, we should go and share the news soon.
We planned to meet each other's parents right away. When I introduced Larry to my mom, she teared up with joy.
OMG, you're getting married. I'm truly delighted. Larry, please take good care of her.
He responded with a squeeze on my shoulder, reassuring me. Next, we went to see his mom, Jocelyn. Nice to finally meet you, I'm Brianna. As I introduced myself, I handed a box of sweets as a gift. She snatched it from my hand abruptly and peeked inside. Oh, a roll cake? I'm on a strict diet for my high blood pressure. Are you trying to make me sick? Oh, sorry. I wasn't aware. You should have just asked what I liked beforehand. You're pretty inconsiderate. Our initial encounter left me feeling uneasy. When Larry expressed his intention to marry, she looked straight into my eyes. What are your parents saying about this? Well, my father passed away when I was young, so my mother raised me. She's also happy about this marriage. She widened her eyes. So you were raised by a single mother? Yes. She turned toward Larry. Don't go through with this marriage. A woman raised in a single-parent household is not suitable for you. I don't want my precious son to marry someone like that.
Mom, please don't say that. I do want to marry her.
Upon hearing that, she frowned. If you insist, I'll agree to it. Hey, you, make sure you fulfill your duties as a wife, all right? Yes. And so we started preparing for our marriage. Jocelyn seemed overly protective of Larry, and it was evident she didn't think highly of me, which worried me. Later, we tied the knot in a small, intimate wedding. It was regrettable that Uncle Ben, who had taken care of me since childhood, couldn't attend due to working overseas. However, seeing my mom shed tears of joy made me feel that getting married was indeed the right decision. Once our married life started, it was nothing like I imagined. Maybe because he had always lived with his mom, he couldn't do any household chores. When I asked for help, he bluntly said,
Housework is the wife's duty once you're married. Mom did it perfectly.
He just lounged around playing with his phone and didn't lift a finger to help. Furthermore, he wanted to visit his mom excessively. He insisted I come along, but once there, he engaged in conversations I couldn't follow with her, leaving me to do chores at her place. She made snide remarks and belittled me, yet I endured them for over a year. One day I received a call from my mom, whom I hadn't seen for a while. She hadn't been feeling well, so she got checked and found out she had cancer. She had to be hospitalized. I immediately left work to get to her side and listened to the doctor's explanation. The cancer had progressed considerably, beyond the possibility of treatment. She had about 6 months to live. Upon hearing that, tears streamed down my face. On the other hand, my mom looked determined.
Now that you're married, I feel at peace. I have no regrets in this life anymore.
Mom. When I returned from the hospital, I told Larry about her condition. So I'll go and spend some time with her after work for a while.
No way. Who's going to do the chores during that time then? What about my dinner?
His selfish concern for himself before her condition irritated me. Do it yourself.
Ugh, why should I? That's it, I'll have my dinner at Mom's then. She'd be happy too.
At such times, a good husband would say, I'll prepare dinner for you, but his loyalty was more toward his mother. I was dumbfounded. After that, I managed to visit my mom in the palliative care unit between work hours. Thankfully, she had great insurance, so I didn't have to worry about money.
You've always been reliable and kind. How's Larry doing?
She often asked about him, even though he never showed any interest in visiting her. To avoid worrying her, I had no choice but to lie. He's doing fine. We're doing great together. You have nothing to worry about, Mom. She showed a truly content smile every time I told her. While taking care of her, Jocelyn kept nagging me. Focusing only on your mother and neglecting Larry. What kind of a wife are you? She doesn't have much left. Shush! That's why I didn't want a woman from a single-parent household. I feel so sorry for Larry. Maybe it was just impossible to make her understand. A yielding sigh escaped from my lips. Larry still didn't do any chores and went to Jocelyn's whenever I wasn't around. I started contemplating whether I should stay in this marriage. I had doubts, but I couldn't tell my mom that I was considering a divorce, so I was troubled. 5 months into my mom's hospitalization, Larry came to me all excited.
Hey honey, you remember it's Mom's 60th birthday this Sunday, right?
Yeah, I've already bought presents.
Prepare a big feast and fancy wine too. It's her 60th, so we need to celebrate lavishly.
Despite not doing anything for my birthday, he was enthused by hers. I answered with a resigned sure, accompanied by a sigh. Early Sunday morning, I received a call from the hospital. My mom's blood pressure had dropped and she was disoriented. I got ready in a rush and tried waking Larry up, but he mumbled, and didn't open his eyes. Frustrated, I left him sleeping and headed out. I sent a message to his phone, saying my mom was in critical condition and to come once he woke up. When I arrived, my only relative, Uncle Ben, who had also rushed after receiving the message, was already there. I heard he had returned recently, but it had been a while since I'd seen him. My mom was quietly sleeping, and her blood pressure kept dropping. Uncle Ben and I stayed by her bed, praying silently. By noon, Larry still hadn't shown up. I debated whether to contact him, but I wanted to focus on my mom. Holding her hand, I comforted her, when suddenly she opened her eyes.
Brianna, dear, you're here. Where's Larry?
Even in such times, she remembered to ask for him. I thought seeing him would make her happy. I didn't want to let go of her hand, so I put my phone on speaker and called him. After a few things, he answered. Hello, Larry. Mom is... His angry voice interrupted me mid-sentence.
Hey, where the heck are you?
I'm at the hospital. Didn't you see my message?
What message? Doesn't matter, just come back quickly.
I couldn't believe what he said. That's impossible. Mom's in critical condition. She's asking for you. Can't you come here now?
Why do I have to go there for your mom?
What?
It's my mom's 60th birthday today. What about the food and the cake?
I told you, it's not the time for that.
What nonsense are you talking about? Her birthday celebration is more important. Forget about your mom, she's nothing to me.
His voice echoed throughout the room. My mom sleeping peacefully was a relief. Nothing? Did you just call my mom nothing?
That's right. Enough. Just come back home now. Otherwise, you'll regret it later.
That was the last straw for me. I felt an overwhelming surge of anger towards him. Nevertheless, I didn't want to start a fight at my mom's side. I turned off my phone and trembled in anger.
Hey, what was that about?
As I turned around, I saw my uncle standing tall and rigid, his eyes ablaze in fury. Uncle Ben.
Have you always been treated like that? You even dared to speak that way about my sick sister.
I nodded to him and told him about the mistreatments I'd endured. Several hours later, my mom never woke up and passed away peacefully. I did ask Larry and Jocelyn to attend the wake the next day. They showed up wearing casual attire and confronted me.
You? Why didn't you come back yesterday?
Yeah, it was my 60th birthday. We ended up ordering takeout. I calmly responded to the selfish and insensitive too. I told you, my mom was critically ill. She's gone now and I want to send her off peacefully. Please pray for her.
Shut up. We came here to scold you. Who prays for your old woman?
Yeah, because of her, my celebration was a mess. Remember that. Jocelyn glared at me. Her nostrils flared. Let's get the heck out of here, Larry. I don't want to stay in this gloomy place. The two quickly turned to leave, but someone stopped in their way.
We're not finished yet. OMG!
While Larry was totally bewildered, Jocelyn frowned her brows and asked who it was.
He's the head of my most important business client. But Mr. Snyder, what are you doing here?
Upon hearing that, Jocelyn straightened up her posture. I then informed them. Let me introduce you. He's my late mother's brother and also my uncle, Ben Snyder.
What? Your uncle?
He was working overseas at the time of our wedding, so you haven't met him. Larry's face turned pale.
Oh, geez. Who knew your uncle was Mr. Snyder? I mean, it's quite a coincidence, isn't it?
Yeah. Wow. It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Snyder. They tried to mend things by grinning foolishly. Then my uncle interjected sharply.
Larry, I've long known that you, the salesperson from our business partner, are Brianna's husband. I've seen your wedding photos. Oh, but I remained quiet and have been careful not to let it affect our business dealings. Moreover, I even slightly favored your company to seal the deal. Brianna is like a daughter to me. Oh, that's very nice of you. I'm grateful.
Lara's face lit up and gave him a beaming smile, followed by Jocelyn. My uncle continued.
But I've changed my mind. I'll terminate the contract with your company. I've already informed your superior. What? Oh, you're just joking. It's a fact.
Larry tried to defend himself, turning pale. Then my uncle's expression turned fierce, reminiscent of the one at the hospital.
It's about more than just a conversation earlier. I heard everything you said over the phone yesterday. Wait, no way. What did you say to Brianna, who rushed to her dying mother's side? What did you call my sister, who is your mother-in-law? You told Brianna to come back home for your mom's birthday. You said forget about my dying sister. How dare you say such things? I'm truly furious about how you insulted my niece and sister. I don't want any dealings with a company having a low-life salesman like you.
Larry's face turned completely white, and he crumbled into his knees.
Please, forgive me. If you pull out now, my company will be... Don't you even try. All you can do is nothing but regret it now. And you're apologizing to the wrong person.
My uncle dismissed him coldly, and Larry staggered toward me.
Brianna, honey, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Please convince him to change his mind. If I get fired, he'll be in trouble too, won't you?
I shoved him as hard as I could and yelled at him. Like I care. Your job has nothing to do with me anymore. We're getting divorced.
What? Divorce?
I can't stand being with you anymore. Just stay with Jocelyn forever, you mama's boy. Don't you dare show your face in front of me again. Larry and Jocelyn looked shrinking. Eventually, my uncle kicked them out of my mom's wake. Our divorce was finalized afterward. With a lawyer involved, I received a larger share of the joint savings. True to his word, my uncle stopped the business dealings with Larry's company. It was explained that the reason was due to his actions, resulting in him being transferred to a less prestigious position in the company. News of his behavior spread throughout the company, and he became known as an inappropriate mama's boy. He felt ashamed and eventually resigned. He's now back living with his mom. He doesn't work and tries to live off her support, causing her to take up a part-time job. It's said that there are frequent arguments heard from their home. On the other hand, I went to properly thank my uncle after everything settled.
Brianna, I hope you find true happiness. That's your mom's wish.
He even introduced me to one of his trusted colleagues. I'm not sure about my future with him yet, but from now on I'll do my best for my own happiness. I offer my prayers to my mom's portrait, asking her to watch over me.